So as a church audio engineer, the ultimate goal is to create that distraction-free worship environment. In order to do so, we don't want audio that's so loud where it's hurting people's ears and damaging their hearing. We don't want noises and things happening and things clicking and popping. We want to be able to create an environment that the congregation could come in and just be at peace and have everything flow and be fluid and not painful. So this is the list of the 10 things we think you need to know. So number one on the list is communication. Communication is key. I have been in many situations where I was able to negate issues and problems before they happened because I was able to communicate with somebody and figure out what we were going for, what direction we were going in. So communication, in my experience, one thing I've witnessed is I used to work at a pretty big music venue in the Southern California area. And we're talking, I was working 5-6 nights a week doing 4 to 6 bands a night on stage. And there was a clear difference in touring bands compared to local bands. And yeah, there was time put in, there was money put in, but one big key thing that was put into these productions that weren't into the more local acts was communication. And that's talking to guitar players about their tone, about their effects, drummers about how they're tuning their drums, and all these different aspects come together. Also, communicating about the band's in-ears or wedges, monitors, just anything, getting together and knowing the plan is really good to do. So number one, communication, talk with the band, talk with the worship leader, and you should have much more success in this than if you weren't.
Hi, my name's Eric, and I'm from Wave Online Academy, and we're going through the list of 10 things that every church audio engineer should know. So number 2 is to know your gear, all right? Now, when we say know your gear, we don't mean just to know what a microphone is, know what a DI is, what a mixer is, but actually how they work and how to use them properly, okay? The reason this is so important is because not only knowing your gear will help you troubleshoot, if you have a problem, if you have an issue and you're standing behind the mixer and you don't know your gear, you're not going to know how to fix it. For example, let's say you put a mic on a snare drum, all right? And back at the mixer, you have no signal coming in, okay? Well, know your gear comes into play here, all right? If it's a condenser microphone, you're going to need to have a fan of power on that microphone. And if you fix that and it doesn't work, what are you going to do? You're standing there. You got to solve this problem. What are you going to do? Okay, well, if you know your gear, you're going to be able to fix that problem. Okay? Knowing your gear is an extremely important concept. You need to know all of your gear, how all of that works, plus also some of the musicians' gear, how that works too. A great resource is Sweetwater. Lots of churches buy their gear from Sweetwater. So if you buy your gear from Sweetwater, go online and learn about your mixer. They have a great video series of everything you would ever want to know about your gear. So get online, watch those videos, and learn your gear. For the rest of the stuff, that's what we're here for. Daniel?
Okay, number 3 on the list, know the songs. It's kind of obvious, I think. Knowing the songs is going to help you in knowing where the instrumentations come in and out of things, knowing the changes, knowing the different parts of the songs, knowing when solos are happening or not. All of these things are going to help you, knowing where everything's sitting in the mix, where tracks are, where effects are, all these different things. Are the delays happening? Or is it repeating? Is it a long delay, a short delay? Is it a big room reverb on the toms? Is it not? All these different things. Knowing this is going to help you be more successful at mixing that song. I give you a couple pointers on how I achieve this. Some of the churches I've worked for, they'll release these songs a couple weeks in advance. So one thing I'll do is I'll get on, say, like Planning Center, and I'll take a first good listen to them, and then I'll make a playlist. And when I'm driving here and there during that week or the weeks before, I'll be listening to these songs and getting more and more familiar with them. Listening to them on your earbuds. There's been times I've put them through the system, the sound system at the church, while I'm setting up all the mics and getting prepared before the weekend service. So all of these things are really going to help you. And knowing the song is going to make you much more successful at the mix you're trying to achieve.
Number 4 is signal flow. Now, signal flow is just as important as knowing your gear. Why? Because it helps with troubleshooting. You need to know how the sound goes from the source to the speakers and every potential breakpoint or every potential trouble point along the way. If you don't know the signal path the audio is taking, there's no way that you can troubleshoot the problem.
Number 5, gain structure. In order to achieve the cleanest, strongest signal without distortion, you need to understand gain, what it is and how it is different than volume. Understanding gain and then being able to achieve a proper gain structure for a signal is extremely important. Not only does it dictate how that particular source sounds, but it also affects every other signal coming into your mixer. If you do not set up your gain correctly when setting up your mixer, you will have a very difficult time with every other thing that comes after that, meaning your EQ, compression, gating, and mixing will all be affected by gain.
Number 6 is dynamics. So dynamics are basically EQ, gating, compression, and yes, gain. We have a separate lesson on gain because gain itself is so important because it just sets up the stage for everything else. But you need to know how compression works, when to use it, how to use it, what to use it on. Same thing with parametric EQ. What does it do? How do you use it properly? How do you know how you're supposed to use it? Are delay and reverb the same thing, or are they two different things? And how do you use one and the other? Many green audio engineers really don't know the difference between reverb and delay and how to use them properly, and they'll mix them up several times or just oversaturate everything, and you get really weird sounds. So dynamics, we have a whole module on dynamics. We have a lesson on each one, and then we have it also in our mixing module of how to use it properly for whatever you're using it for.
So this brings us to number 7, effects. Effects are a pretty vital part of what we do as sound engineers. I mean, seriously, creating an environment to put a signal in, a source, like say a snare, and putting reverb on it, it sometimes will bring life to that instrument. So knowing the effects, knowing the parameters, and being able to identify which parameter you need to do to be able to achieve the effect you're going for is going to be crucial to you having a really good sounding mix.
All right. Number 8 is critical listening. Critical listening is my favorite thing. It's my baby. I've been teaching critical listening to my students for years now. What critical listening really is being able to listen to what is actually going on in your mix and then being able to fix it. Many times when you're listening to the mix, you think everything is okay, but it's really not. And we get deep into critical listening and sound waves and how it affects people and how things are happening in the room, and then teaching you how to fix the problem or fix the problems that might be occurring. So number 8 is critical listening.
Number 9, volume. We don't want mid-service for your congregation to be exiting the church with their ears plugged because it's painful. If your church hasn't set a decibel limit for the room you're in, I would urge you to get together with your production manager, worship leader, or pastor to set a limit, a decibel limit of what you guys want to hit that you feel would be comfortable for the congregation. There are some tools that we could use to help with that. There's a program called Smart that uses a reference mic and it measures the decibels. And we could set a limit in there and it'll alarm us and it'll tell us when we're hitting that limit or over it. And we could do this instantaneously, or it could give us an average over time of what our decibel level is. We could even do it over the whole church service. So keep mindful. Volume is going to be something that we need to be mindful of to create that distraction-free worship environment.
Number 10. Number 10 is never stop learning and never stop growing. Never stop learning and growing in your faith, and never stop learning and growing in life. Look, guys, I'm 50 years old, and I come from the day where we had a rack of outboard gear behind us, a 60-channel mixer in front of us, and we recorded things to 2-inch tape. We didn't have line array systems. We didn't have all those things. If I would have back in the late 90s just decided that I know everything there is to know, I don't need to learn anything else, where would I be? I'd probably be a gardener now or flipping pizzas over at McDonald's or something like that. Never stop growing and learning. And here's the thing. We can all learn from each other. There are people out there, young guys, older guys, experienced, non-experienced, that have good ideas, that know certain things. I've learned things from younger guys that are green. Just by them asking a question, I'm like, oh, okay, I never thought of that before. We can all learn from each other. And this course is designed to be a community so that we can all learn from each other. And you know what? Beware the guy that tells you that he knows everything. Well, there you have it. The 10 most important things that a church audio engineer should know. Daniel and I welcome you, and we're excited about going through this course with you and working together and getting to know you guys. And so we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.
4, 3, 2,